What's going on, everybody? So this is just a quick review, recap, whatever you want to call it, of Civil War. Our thoughts of one thing we liked about it and one thing we absolutely disliked about it.
So, spoiler alert for this whole review. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. What are you waiting for? So let's start it off. One thing we liked. Simon?
So one thing that I liked is the fact that it's not a kids movie anymore. And here's what I'm saying. It's not completely all about the action. It's not completely all about the costumes. They actually had a long chunk of the movie where they actually discussed real life issues. One particular debate, liberty versus security. Another particular debate, idealism over realism. Another particular debate, over and over again, they're discussing things, and at the end of it all, no one won. And you leave that sense, there's this sense of dissatisfaction, and grown-ups have to deal with that, and kids can't, they're trying their best, but that's what I loved about it. It stepped out to become more than just a kid-friendly film or just simply an action movie. It was something that dealt with real-life issues, and that's what I loved.
Yeah. Like Vision said, there's no winners, they're both losers.
Exactly.
One thing I loved about it is that Captain America never wavered from his decision. He lived up to it no matter what was going to happen, no matter he's going to go to prison, his friends are, he stood his ground, and I love that about Captain America.
I could do this all day.
One thing that I really liked about this movie was that it went full circle, book's end, and everything just kind of tied into each other perfectly. You have Tony Stark's parents being murdered and his going back to his memories. It's kind of like a repressed memory he has, but at the end of the movie you're like, oh wow, like the Winter Soldier killed him. And hey, if you haven't seen it, we told you, spoiler alert. But anyways, like you see that come out and everything ties in together. So it was just the perfect grasp of this whole movie just came full circle completely.
The thing that I liked most about the movie was that even though this movie had more Avengers in it than any Avengers movie, that it still stayed true to being a Captain America movie.
Yeah.
It was about Steve Rogers. It was about Captain America. It was about Steve Rogers the man. Everything from Peggy Carter's death to his romance to his relationship with Tony, it stuck with him. His friendship with Bucky, the way that he had his back the entire time. We saw Captain America more on screen than anybody else. And the fact that they could have so much star power and so many people with abilities and powers in that movie and still be able to focus mainly on him, that's just what makes the movie awesome.
Yeah, nice. It's what Batman Superman couldn't be.
But they should have been.
Let's not go there. We're not going to get into that debate. That's for a different video. Alright, now one thing we dislike, go ahead Troy, we'll just kick it back this way.
Yeah. One thing that I disliked about the movie is that I thought the fight scenes should have been switched. I thought that that the big Avengers head-on scene should have been at the end, and the fight between Captain America and Iron Man and Bucky should have been in the middle. I thought when I think of that, I think of Civil War, and I think of all the Avengers fighting, and that could have been changed for me. That's one thing I disliked about it.
I think that would have made a lot more sense to me as well. But
The one thing I disliked about the movie was there's no big setup. You have the end of the movie and everyone just kind of scatters out. There's no jumping to the next Avengers. There's no jumping to Infinity War. There's no promise of tomorrow. America.
That was deep.
There you go.
One thing I didn't enjoy about it is Baron Zemo. I wish there was more of a comic book presence of him. He didn't have an iconic suit. I think I resembled him at all, not even a sword. But I just wish. I love the movie. That was just one thing that I found I didn't like. Other than that, it was great.
one thing that I really didn't like is I know what they were trying to do, and you can see that the Russo brothers were actually, it was very obvious what they were trying to do with Tony Stark, but it just wasn't convincing for me that Tony Stark would be triggered in such a rage mode once he finds out that, spoiler alert, that Bucky kills his parents. And that's the thing that compels him to kill Winter Soldier and to have Captain America stop him. I just knowing Tony Stark, knowing Iron Man from the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, again, I know why they did it, but it just wasn't convincing for me. So,
Well, there you go. That's their basics review with a special guest, Troy, aka Olamonde. Thank you again. Find his channel, like ours, subscribe to his, subscribe to ours, comment on ours, comment on his.
Do all that stuff, and stay tuned for the next episode. We're coming out with more videos. And you don't want to miss them because they're great,
We promise we'll be back. We'll be back better than ever.
just like Iron Man.
He's done.
Pick your side. Pick your side.